What's going on, everyone? Matic here, and today we're going to go over on how to make our calves nice and jacked. Raul, you've grown. This won't make you feel better. All right, so what we're going over is basically different ways on how to do calf races specifically. More than just what most people know of either doing straight leg or bent leg calf races. Now, while most of these exercises are geared towards actually just making the calf overall stronger, it is also geared towards making the muscles, the tendons, and the ligaments better able to protect themselves. Say if you go to twist an ankle or fall off, slip off an edge or something like that, your ankles and stuff like that from becoming injured. So while yes, eventually you can start adding weight or doing other things with these variations we're going to be doing, for the most part, please do most of these without any weight to get used to the movements and the pressures going to be placed on your joints. So let's get into it and see what we need to do. So kind of one of the main things you're going to need for all of these exercises is something to reduce the friction between your feet and the surface you're going to be on. Now, I have a towel about like this. You can get something equivalent or just use a regular towel. You can use washcloths. You can use like paper plates or something like that, something disposable, whatever. Whatever that can reduce friction between your feet and the surface, because we're going to be doing lots of twisting and stuff like this. And we don't want the friction like putting unnecessary strains on like our knees and stuff like that with some of the exercises we're going to do. So one of the first things we want to do is we want to find our finished position. And the way that we're going to do this is we're basically going to use the standard standing calf raise in order to find that. Now, there's very specific things that we want to make sure that we do. For all of these exercises, the finished position is going to be the same. And what it is if we start with a basic standing calf raise, our feet are going to be directly underneath our hips. They're not going to be wider. They're not going to be more narrow. They're going to be directly underneath our hips. From there, also, our feet or the inside of our feet are going to be pointed straight. Not the outside of our feet, and they're not going to be pointed outward. They're going to be pointed straight. This is very important. So again, hip width, inside of the feet pointed straight. And then from there, all we're going to do is extend out through the ball of our foot. That is this part of the foot. So there's a reason we want to be on the ball of the foot. If I just push up and allow contact to be all across all 5 toes, if I maintain that contact, you see how my ankles are kicked out like this? This is not what I want. I want to pull and come up on the ball of my foot. Now there is space kind of where my pinky toes are, but this creates a straight line. And by doing this, we wind up working on 2 specific muscles. We wound up working on the soleus and the peroneus longus that is responsible for this particular action. And not only do we want to make sure that we have a straight line in this direction, we want to make sure that we have a straight line as much as possible down the front of our shin, across our ankle, and down the top of our foot. We want to try to get past whatever this angle is or whatever it wants to be. We want to try to get up to here. For some people, this might be a flexibility issue. If that's the case, then please go see my last video of stretching your calves, where I show a couple of ways on how to specifically stretch in this direction. But because we want to focus primarily on this final extension here, it is okay to use a wall for balance. So again, our first exercise is going to be, we are facing the wall. First exercise is legs are going to be straight. Inside of the feet are straight. Feet are shoulder width. From here, we're just going to go straight up. Boom. Working on full extension, again, coming on the ball of the foot and not laying all across the toes. And once again, we are using this exercise to find this final position for all the rest of our exercises. We're using this to memorize what this feels like. Now later on you can do this with bent legs, all that stuff, but that is after learning the basics. First, starting out, you can do 10 reps, find out what that is, and then we move on to our second exercise. So second exercise, this is where we need our thing or material, whatever we're using to reduce friction. You can do this in socks if you're on a hardwood floor. I prefer doing it with bare feet. That way I have a better ground feel. But if you're using a towel like me, Stretch it out, put your feet a little bit wider than hips, bring them in to under hips. Now, here's what we're going to do for the first exercise. We are going to take our thighs and we're going to turn them outward so that our heels turn in. All right, that's all we're doing. We're just going boom. I'm going to turn on the ball of my foot, heels in. This is starting position here. Find your basic stance here, turn on the balls of your feet, heels slightly in, maybe about 45 or so. From here, you can do this one of two ways. You can either come up and then turn straight, which is quite hard, especially if you don't have good friction reduction. Or as you come up, rotate your thighs in and come straight. And come straight. Boom. I prefer to do it as I come up, but you can come up and in. Up and in. Again, you can do this for about 10 reps or so and then move on. So if we did with heels in, we're now going to do it with heels out. This one's a little bit weird because you will kind of have to like bend your knees in a little bit if you don't have good flexibility. But again, same thing. You do this one of two ways. You can either come up, rotate your thighs. Think about rotating your thighs outward when you do this. I can come up, rotate. Up, rotate. Or as I come up, rotate. Rotate. And make sure that you're coming to this neutral position. Do not turn all the way out. Up and turn, or up and turn. Up and turn, up and turn. For the next exercise, depending on how your floors are, you can use a friction reduction or you can do it just on regular ground. Kind of depends, you decide. But what we're going to do is we're going to come to our neutral position, right? And then we're going to put pressure on the outside of our foot and bring the inside of our foot off the ground. The more you can come to here as much as possible, kind of the better. If that's a flexibility thing, you don't have to be able to do it now. But as long as you can get to this, right? This. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll, right? Roll along the outside of my foot to the ball. So where I said you don't want pressure across all 5 toes. So what we're doing, we are now drawing or pressing all the way around to get to the ball. All the way to get to the ball. This is a really good ankle strengthener from here. So you can start flat foot out and then up, or you can maintain pressure on the outside the whole time. Either or, depends on what your feet are able to do. And then for the next exercise, where we started pressure on the outside, we're now going to put pressure on the inside. And then we're basically going to roll up onto the ball of the foot. Boom. 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 If you might kind of need like a little bit of a rocking motion, that's a little bit okay. But try to get away from that, right? You can even like bring your knees in to get this more of a tilt. Come up and then straight. In, straight. In, straight. All right, so that was 5 exercises for working our calves. Again, start off with these with no weights, starting around about 10 reps or so and doing however many sets you kind of feel like. Personally, for me, starting at 10 is a good number because it gives you enough time to get kind of started out, because these are pretty intense on the muscles and especially the tendons and ligaments around your ankles if you're not used to moving them around. This does require quite a bit of ankle flexibility as well, that if you don't quite have it yet, eventually, hopefully it'll help you get there. But doing about 10 reps of these before going to the next exercise is a good start. Then do about maybe 2, maybe 3 sets total, getting up to 15, 20, maybe even 25 repetitions per exercise before we really start upping the difficulty. And one of the primary ways to do that is by start adding weight. Now, how you're able to do that is kind of dependent on like how good your balance is, what kind of ways you are trying to add weight. I would probably recommend either you increase the starting angle of each exercise, either where right now we are completely flat, you could put your toes on something that elevates the front part of your foot, or where the ball of your foot is at the beginning, and that can give you a little bit more flex. You will be very surprised on how just a little can make a huge difference. You can wind up putting on like a weight vest or something like that. That way all the weight is like totaled. It's not pulling to one side or anything. Or if you try to do one leg, it doesn't completely overload the other leg. Right at that point, like there's a whole lot of coordination and balance is taking place that can kind of deteriorate the quality of the exercise. So doing one legs, I kind of personally don't recommend. Personally, I would go with either increasing the front part of the foot or putting on like a weighted vest or something like that. So I hope y'all enjoy those exercises. I'm Matic, that's Raul, and we will be seeing you. We'll see you next time.